Just as the Mongol heavy cavalry once shook the eastern steppes, about 300 years before that, the Vikings had unleashed powerful waves across the western seas. That's like a summary of the Vikings' dominance, one of the most fierce and formidable tribes in human history, but also one of the greatest warriors. Their appearance marked an era in the history of Northern Europe that spanned nearly 3 centuries, from 793 to 1066. In fact, the term Viking doesn't refer to all the Nordic peoples. The origin of the word Viking appeared in the 6th or 7th century in an ancient Anglo-Saxon poem, meaning seafarers, pirates, and traders. In other words, at that time, Europeans began to realize that the Scandinavians were highly skilled at sailing and fighting at sea. They include countries such as Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland. The Vikings were initially just farmers, but later they used their strength to spread across a vast region from east to west, then present throughout Europe, creating a glorious Viking era. As mentioned, the Vikings initially only raised livestock and farmed in Scandinavia. However, an event occurred in 750 AD that changed the course of their civilization. In a vast territory, more than 30 small and large kingdoms emerged, leading to constant power struggles and warfare. Amidst the turmoil, a catastrophic event occurred. A massive dust cloud spread through the atmosphere, caused by the impact of comets or asteroids colliding with the Earth, combined with the eruption of at least one large volcano. This cloud obscured the sunlight, causing temperatures to drop sharply in the summer in the northern hemisphere, and the coldness of the long darkness brought destruction to Scandinavia region. This catastrophic event was depicted in the mythology of the Vikings and often known as Ragnarok, the end of the world. Ragnarok occurs when the sun turns black, that is at that time, when a massive dust cloud covered a large area of the earth. Eventually, as the dust cloud dissipates, summer returns, and a new generation of Vikings was born in the northern region. The society in Scandinavia becomes more brutal. Perhaps due to their harsh experiences, the people of this region start to transform into warriors and invade sparsely populated lands. The Kingdom of England was one of the first countries that the Vikings set their eyes on. It's home to many monasteries that hold valuable artifacts. Additionally, Offa, the king of Mercia, was the first king of England to mint silver coins, which the Vikings considered highly valuable. Ultimately, a landing on the island of Lindisfarne became the springboard for the Vikings to begin their attacks and occupation of England. By 870, the Vikings had conquered East Anglia, Northumbria, and Mercia, 3 of the 4 territories that would later form England. Only one territory, the Kingdom of Wessex, remained under the rule of King Alfred. Eventually, King Alfred was able to repel the Viking invasion, leading to a compromise that divided England into 2 parts, with each side holding a portion of the territory. These details have been depicted in the Netflix series The Last Kingdom. King Alfred's bodyguard in the movie is Uhtred, a Viking dedicated to serving England, and he is also a real historical figure. The Viking era has become an endless source of inspiration for filmmakers, especially on online streaming platforms like Netflix. You can explore more about these historical characters and their glorious reigns through other series such as Viking Valhalla. Now let's go back to the period of European domination and the glorious years of this nation. England was the premise for the Vikings to spread their tentacles to most of the neighboring territories. They landed and plundered monasteries on the western coast of Iceland and established a permanent base there. In the Mediterranean, they attacked the lands of the Dutch and Germans, striking directly on the capital Paris. In 885, hundreds of ships and tens of thousands of Vikings arrived outside Paris and demanded tribute, but King Charles of France refused. The Viking Empire also reached Russia, Ukraine, and fought in many other countries in North Africa, the Middle East, and Jerusalem. In their era, they ruled and devastated a vast land in Europe and neighboring regions. To reach new lands, conquer and plunder spoils, the Vikings needed superior weapons and qualities. Their first and most important weapon was the ship, which took them to unexplored lands. With their seafaring skills and the advent of a technology called the sail, in the 7th century, the Vikings constructed long ships made of oak wood. According to National Geographic, these ships were designed with compartments containing large stones placed on both sides of the keel to maintain balance in stormy weather, along with weapon storage compartments on both sides. One of the most advanced warships ever used by the Vikings was over 10 meters long, with tall and sturdy sails to withstand the impact of the waves. The upper part of the hull lies just below the waterline, allowing these ships to glide faster on the water. Additionally, this also enabled them to move into shallow waters and go deep into enemy territory. With 200 warships, they could transport 5,000 soldiers and cover a distance of 150 nautical miles in a day, making it difficult for the enemy to gather forces for defense and counterattack. This was highly advantageous for the Vikings to expand their empire throughout Europe, because the old continent was surrounded by numerous coastlines. They would set sail, conquer lands, plunder, and gather spoils of war. Whenever they reached a fertile or cultivable area, they would establish new empires there. While you may think Christopher Columbus discovered America, but research indicates otherwise, because the Vikings had already explored this land 475 years before that famous explorer. According to Michael D., the lead researcher and a geologist at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands, the wooden artifacts found at L'Anse aux Meadows, a village located in Canada, along with traces of metal tools which the indigenous people were unable to create at that time, scientists believe these belonged to the Viking. The warship was the tool to carry the Vikings' ambitions across Europe, and to conquer all, they needed the skills and courage of the greatest warriors. Both Viking men and women learned martial arts from a very young age. The favorite martial art and the foundation of their land was called Glima. From 6 or 7, children here were taught Glima. Thanks to that, the Vikings always had a formidable warrior force throughout their prosperous time. This martial art focused on strength, reflexes, and especially decisiveness. Not only for fighting and training, Glima also helped the Vikings increase their ability to endure harsh weather conditions. They considered fighting as their pride and reason for living. They valued fighting to the death to be able to appear in the holy land of Valhalla, where they will enjoy good wine, beautiful women, and ultimate glory. Their faith made them determined on the battlefield and never retreated before any enemy. The Vikings were so fierce that they created wars between their own tribes when there were no more foreign invaders to fight. They killed each other to compete for territory, wealth, or sometimes just because their pride was hurt. They had the ability to assimilate into culture, no less than the Han or Mongols. To this day, many old words in English still have Scandinavian roots. In 1066 marked the glorious end of the Viking era, when the Norwegian army, led by King Harald Hardrada, sailed to invade England with a fleet of 300 ships. The decisive battle at Stamford Bridge in West Yorkshire, commanded by King Harold, completely wiped out the Norwegian forces from the northern of England. Afterwards, both sides signed a peace treaty, allowed the Norwegians to withdraw, and ensuring that they would never invade England again. This event marked the beginning of the downfall of the Viking Age. In the following years, the Vikings began to disappear from Greenland, the land that had given birth to great Viking warriors. For a long time, no one could explain why the Vikings disappeared in 14th century. It was later discovered that they had to endure the effects of climate change. Research conducted by scientists at Brown University in the United States suggests that the increasingly cold climate might have led to the Vikings' demise in the 14th and 15th centuries. Starting around 1100, temperatures dropped by 4 degrees Celsius, a conclusion reached by scientists after studying ice samples taken from 2 lakes in Kangerlussuaq. The sharp drop in temperature makes summer shorter and winters became colder, reducing the Vikings' ability to farm and raise livestock. The increased presence of ice hindered their raiding expeditions could no longer be carried out as frequently as before. Trade activities were disrupted, leading to famine and decline. This could be considered the most reasonable explanation for the disappearance of the Viking civilization. But could a brave race like them easily perish for the above reason? Why didn't they sail to southern Europe to avoid the cold? It remains a mystery without a clear answer. Or perhaps the glorious era of the Vikings had come to an end because other nations had learned how to resist them, making it more difficult for them to migrate to new lands. However, the Viking era remains a remarkable milestone in human history. Their warrior spirit makes me wonder, if the Vikings had existed at the same time as the Mongols, and these two mighty armies clashed, which side would win? Give your opinion in the comment section. Thank you for watching the video. I am Honey Badger. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to receive the latest video. Now, goodbye, and see you in the next videos.